Hi friends, it's Belinda here from Be Making Joy. Welcome to episode 72 of What Brings Me Joy, mostly knitting. This is my journal where I keep track of the projects that I've cast on and finish and hold myself accountable for starting new things, which I have done. And sometimes you get a sneak peek of the things that I'm designing. I'm recording this episode on Friday, May 22nd, 2026. And it's been a month since my last episode. And I only have one finished object to show you, plus a lot of progress on some other WIPs. Two of my projects are at decision points, so I thought I'd get on here and document what's happening before I frog them, because I need to make some changes. Plus I've started two more projects, and if you're new here, I'm so glad to have you. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. Like I said, it's been a month since the last episode, so I thought I'd give you a life update first before we get into the nitty-gritty stuff. The last time I recorded was just after we had come back from a trip to Houston, where my husband Dan competed in the Ironman competition and did quite well. Since that, last week, Dan and I have been to San Francisco for some meetings and investment conference. And we did have a little bit of time before and after the meeting to do a little bit of exploring. So I have a few photos I can add at the end of this video. I don't think I have enough to do a separate inner travels video for that, because it was a business trip. Our next trip is in a week. We're going up to Edmonton to help our daughter move. Exciting news, she bought a new house. So I'm quite proud of her. She did it all herself, arranged the financing, and then did her shopping. She prepared a spreadsheet of what she was looking for and found a realtor, and she was very organized and methodical about it. A few FaceTime visits with her dad and I to talk things through, but she did it herself, and she's excited. We're excited, so we're going to have to move her in tomorrow. No, next weekend. Next weekend. She was down here last weekend to collect some boxes for her move, so it was nice to see her. Edmonton is a 3-hour drive away from us here in Calgary, so she and her cat came down, youngest. So we had some family time. We went to the Calgary Zoo on Saturday, which was wonderful. It started to rain before we left home, so we were all gathering our raincoats and umbrellas and whatnot. And then at the last minute, I put on my parka. And I'm glad I did, because as I was driving there, I was watching the temperature drop. On my car displays the temperatures. So I was watching the temperature drop, and the rain turned to snow. But that was great because there were no crowds and we got to see almost all the animals. So I got some pretty good pictures. Maybe I'll put together a slideshow for you. Yeah, maybe. I did show some on my Instagram stories. Yeah, I will do a separate video. Just give me a few days. And then Sunday, we went to a movie. We saw The Sheep Detectives. We really enjoyed it. I highly recommend it. And then we went out for sushi. That's been wonderful. And as I said, in between, I'm doing a little bit of knitting, a little bit of trying to reconnect with people. And, we've been traveling pretty much every 3 weeks. In between, I'm knitting. I haven't really been able to get myself onto any kind of a routine. I'm either catching up from being away or planning for the next one. And it's been so hard to connect with people and not spending enough time at home. Even when I want to avoid sounding like I'm bragging about my travels, people are always asking, where have you been? Where are you going to next? So I need some tips on how to turn the conversation around to ask them about them. Because the standard how are you question is just a dead end. So So, that's about it. Let's go on now to the knitting. I'll start with what I'm wearing. This is my Turnpike Tee, a pattern that I published years ago. I'm not sure what year. On my Ravelry. Anyway, it's very comfortable. It's got all the increases in one row, so the rest of it just drapes. Okay, my first finished object are the Nip Slip Socks by Nancy Wheeler of the by Nancy Wheeler of the Knit Sip Happy podcast. That's a tongue twister. This is her annual breast cancer fundraiser pattern. She has designed a boob themed sock every April for the past 4 years, with proceeds for the first few weeks going to the Canadian Cancer Foundation. And you might remember I started these right before our Texas trip, and I had cast on both cuffs with the suggested 2.25 millimeter needles. I had knit an entire leg on the plane to Houston, only to find out that it wouldn't go over my heel. I had no other needles with me, so I eventually frogged it and started another sock with 2.75 millimeter needles, and that worked out pretty great. I'll show some pictures of me wearing it. They were a little snug to get on, but once on, they were very comfortable. These and my dishcloths were my travel knitting for the San Francisco trip, and then I finished up the toe at home, up the second sock. I did do a slight modification. In the pattern, she has you cast on in the contrast and knit just one row before changing colors. I had a hard time doing that, managing 3 tails of yarn while still trying to tighten up that join for the start of the knitting in the round. So I did 4 rounds of contrast before going into the cuff, and then the pattern starts for the leg. And I do think on one of the socks that one of my boobs circles are a little shorter than the other. Of course, I'm not going to find it right now. And now, as I'm looking at it, I see a mistake. Oh, well. Love them. I love all of her patterns, but I need to start making notes for myself about what size needles I need to use for socks. Her gauge was for 32 stitches per 4 inches, and she suggested a 2.25, but I needed a 2.75 millimeter needle for those. This yarn is Socknado from Ancient Arts Yarns in the colorway, the softer side of linen. Like, it's not linen, it's a 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. And the contrast color was from Mary Margaret Fibers. Socknado is from Ancient Arts Yarns here in Calgary. Mary Margaret Fibers is a hand dyer in Strathmore, Alberta, which is just outside of Calgary a little ways. And this colorway is hot pink, and her fiber base is 75% merino, 25% recycled nylon, 75% superwash merino, recycled nylon. And my cake is quite messy. If I don't use this again in the next little while, next time I'm cleaning up my shelves, I'll probably re-hank this. So that's that. And like I said, the socks were airplane knitting and hotel knitting, but during the meetings I worked on dishcloths. And my ends still need to be woven in, and then I need to block it so that it's nice and pretty for gift giving. This is my Three Sisters Mountains pattern. Let's actually show you the pattern. The Three Sisters Mountains in Canmore, Alberta. This pattern is free on my website, and I've been telling you about it all year so far. So 3 more to add to my collection brings me up to 25 or 26. I don't know. I've lost track. Maybe I'll count them again. Oh, that. I actually made a mistake last episode when I was tallying up my works in progress count, the count of how many projects I have on my needles. I forgot about the dishcloths. Every time I finish one, I've started another one. And actually, I had one on the go in the basement on the treadmill, one on the go in my purse, and then when I was preparing for this trip to San Francisco, I set up to start fresh new ones from San Francisco. So now I have half of one from that trip. So I've got 3 dishcloths on the go. I've been counting them as only one work in progress. I've been lumping them together as one count. But last episode, I forgot to count it when I was tallying up my WIP count tally. Anyway, I'll make that correction later on. Now let's get on to my works in progress, the things that I need to document and make changes on. Let me get these out of the way first. The jean cardigan pattern by Joanna Baum, I think. I was really hoping to have this one finished, but I'm playing yarn chicken and losing. So I was down, let's see, since the last episode, I finished the sleeves and went back to finish the body, and then comes the button band. Stitches are picked up all the way around the button band, and then like up one side around the neck, down the other side, and then starting at the bottom, a double knit button band is made with buttonholes on one side. So I'm going to attach some pictures for you. I started it with this purple yarn. I started to realize I was running out of yarn. I was questioning whether I had enough yarn, so I weighed the remainder. It was at 53 grams when I don't know how far up the band I was, but I weighed it. It was 53 grams. I completed 10 more rows and then weighed it again. It was 50 grams. So I used 3 grams in 10 rows. I had 277 more rows to do. So 27.7 times 3 is 83 grams. I'm 33 grams short. So I was playing around trying to decide what other options I have. And this yarn is a Karen Cloud Cake polyester. I bought it from Michael's as soon as it came out because of the color. But of course I can't get it anymore. So I do have a white, a maroon, and a variegated purples and blues. But that purple doesn't match this purple. So I debated doing a full white band, but I think that this is an area that would get dirty with hand oils and stuff. I'd be tugging at it too much. So then I remembered that I know how to do double knitting with 2 colors. So I was working on doing a purple on the outside of the band and a white on the inside of the band. And it took me a few tries to get it started, to figure out how to make sure that the white does not show through, particularly at where I'm joining it to the body. I got that down packed. I'm liking it. But the problem is my rows are coming out too long. And that's because with double knitting with one color, when you're making one pass, you're slipping your pearls. When you come back again, you're slipping the pearls on the other side, right? You're slipping stitches every row. With 2-color knitting, I'm knitting or purling every stitch every row. So these stitches are coming out longer. So my options now, my next steps, try smaller needles, I think. I'm wondering though, would that mean that I would have to go back and redo my pickup stitches with the smaller needles? Thinking on that. If that doesn't work, should I do the button band horizontally? You know, knit all the way around, knit all the way back again? Maybe. But I do like this double knit button band. So I'm going to try again with smaller needles. Or should I give in and do the original button band in white? Well, I guess stay tuned to see what I come up with. Now, another pattern that I'm needing to make decisions on is, my working title is Maple Leaf Cardigan. Where are my pieces? So I think I showed you the start of it. It's a design that I'm working on. So I've got one panel done. You see the maple leaves on it? So I've got the 2 front panels done. Oops, upside down. And the back panel. And those all line up nicely. And then I started working on the sleeve. Now my sleeve, the increase rate is not working out. Because at this point I've done all the increases that I've written into the pattern. And I don't remember anything about how I came up with my numbers for the pattern. I'm going to have to go back to my original spreadsheet and adjust that to do a more gradual increase. Because yeah, that is just not going to work. Because at this rate, the rest of the sleeve would be just straight even knitting. Not going to work. Back to the drawing board. So I wanted to document that before I move on. Yeah. I don't remember. Why would I decrease or increase that quickly? Doesn't make sense. And this is the pattern that I submitted for my Knitting Guild Association Professional Knitwear Designer Certification course. So it wasn't actually tech edited, but the course instructor. I wonder if I'm actually looking at the final draft, or did I pull out the original draft and start knitting from that? I'll have to do some more digging. Anyway, back to the drawing board. In other works in progress, I have not touched my temperature scarf since April. But when I do, it won't take long to catch up because it only takes me a couple of minutes for each day to catch up on that. The only time-consuming part is going back onto the app AccuWeather.com and making note of what all the temperatures were each day. And my Stadium Sit-Upon project is still on the blocking mats back there on the board. I pulled the pins out, started to seam it up, and something else came up, and it's not been touched again. That I want to get done to submit to the Calgary Stampede Craft Fair. I'm not sure what officially it's called, but crafts at the Calgary Stampede. The due date for submission is June 20th. The maple leaf cardigan was also planned for that, so those have deadlines. And I made 2 more commitments this month also. New cast on. The first is I joined Super Sock World Championships. This is a worldwide competition themed sock knitting challenge themed after car racing. I suppose I'm not obligated to finish it. Commitment is just personal commitment. But there are points and prizes, and there are teams. I joined the Overflowing Sock Drawer team because my friend Christine's on that team. I'm told they're a really chill group. There is a chat thread on the Ravelry forum where we can share our progress and our thoughts and whatnot. And when the socks are finished, we submit the finished photographs for the competition. And then your points are awarded to each team somehow or other. So lap 1 started on May 19th. There are 3 lanes for each lap. So by participating in this challenge, we get all the patterns. So we got the 3 choices for lap 1, choose one of them, and the deadline is, I think it's June 7th, at which time we must have our finished projects photos submitted. And then we get the next set of patterns for the next lap. So for this lap, I chose what's called the Multiplicity Sock. Designer is Amanda Stevens of Cold Sheep Designs. And I have a cuff and part of a leg finished. And I don't have her inspiration spiel handy, but the inspiration for her was molecules. She had a whole scientific explanation of the molecules and, how they assemble together. And I thought, since molecules and atoms are the basis of anything in creation, I would go with a color out of creation, so a natural color. So it's green. My yarn is Stocknado from Ancient Arts. The color is Mossy Bank. I had this in my stash. I had bought it a couple of years back when I was planning to make my Peggy's Cove pillow cushion. I wound up making it. Where'd it go? It was up there beside the boat. I wound up making it out of DK yarn instead. So there's leftovers from that. So progress towards my stash down. Oh, I think that's... the needles. 2.25 millimeter needles again. But her suggested gauge is 36 stitches per 4 inches. So 9 stitches per inch compared to the nip slip socks were 8 stitches per inch. So I do think these ones are going to work on the 2.25 millimeter needles. So far it fits over the heel nice and comfy. Maybe slightly bigger, because she said for my size I needed a 64 stitch sock. So we'll see. But yeah, so far so good. And this is only my 3rd day of knitting it. I went obsessive about it. The chart, of course, as you can imagine, is pretty complicated. Every row is a different set of instructions for the chart, and it's just charted, no written instructions. So I'm here with my chart. No, I can't show it to you. And I'm marking it line by line, row by row, or round, I should say. But I'm enjoying it. And then the other project I've committed to, hang on. And now I've committed to knitting 4 pairs of fingerless gloves before the end of July. These are to be part of some costumes for a skit that our congregation is preparing for our the week of our upcoming convention. I know nothing about the skit or what these 4 characters are, but I was asked to make 4 pairs of fingerless gloves with a short cuff. So I'm ready now to start increasing for the thumb gusset. I'm using worsted weight yarn. It's been in my stash for a while, Bernat Premium. So I'm pretty sure that's 100% acrylic. Where are the words? 100% premium acrylic. And I'm using 4.5 millimeter US 7 needles. I expect a gauge of about 5 stitches per inch with this yarn. So I've cast on 36 stitches for a woman's 7-inch hand circumference. I think that's about an average woman's hand circumference. I wanted a multiple of 4 stitches so I could do the short 2x2 ribbed cuff. And then the palm will be plain, and then the tops of the thumbs and fingers will be 2x2 rib. This will not be a pattern that I write because there are so many simple fingerless gloves patterns out there, some of them free. So I'll keep you posted. I just started on this one this morning. Okay, so let's update my WIP list. Last episode I said I had 5 active works in progress, but I had forgotten about the dishcloth, so that should have been 6. Since then, I finished the nip slip socks, and I finished 3 dishcloths, and I restarted another one. So as I said, the dishcloths are only counting as 1 all the way through. And I started the Multiplicity Socks on May 19th, sorry. And I started fingerless mittens this morning. So that brings my WIP count up to 7 projects on the needles. And yeah, there is one in hibernation too. So I think I should write a new list of my projects along with their due dates, or, my desired finishing dates, my self-imposed due dates, and come up with a plan to plan out my knitting, schedule my time accordingly. Now, the other stat that I've been keeping track of is my grams in, grams out. Another page here. I want to make a dent in my yarn stash, of course, use more yarn than I'm buying. So I've been weighing my finished projects and weighing my purchases. So grams in, grams out. So at the end of April, I had used 1,506.91 grams more yarn than I bought. But in May, I finished the nip slip socks. They weighed in at 70.82 grams. And the 3 dishcloths combined weighed in at 69.81 grams. And I bought more yarn. And those yarns total 460 grams. So a bit of a backslide. My May's net so far is negative 319.37 grams more yarn brought in than taken out, dropping the year-to-date total to 1,187.54 grams out over in. So backslide in May, but overall I'm still pleased with my overall progress for the year so far. And as you have seen, I've got some large projects getting close to finishing. So when they're finished, I weigh them and add them to my list. So that will shift things back into a favorable direction. Glad I'm keeping track of this because it's really encouraging and motivating to know that I'm actually using this yarn. Now, those 460 grams of acquisitions, let's show you those. Plus some other acquisitions that are not actually yarn. So I made some spur-of-the-moment purchases at Ancient Arts Yarns in early March. And I was able to visit a yarn shop in San Francisco. and I made a purchase at the Calgary Zoo. So, the first week, not March, May. I made these purchases in early May at Ancient Arts Yards. The first weekend in May, I was wearing a sundress with stripes in like highlighter colored stripes, blue, yellow, orange, and green stripes. And it was making me happy, and I got some compliments on it. I was wearing it with a large black sweater, but I started thinking that I wanted to knit a light pullover to go with it so that I could wear the dress more often. And so, happened to be 2 days later, on May the 4th, Star Wars Day, Ancient Arts Yarns released a Star Wars themed yarn set. Bright lightsaber colors that match those highlights in my dress. So impulsively, I bought the mini set plus 2 full skeins. So these colors, well, clearly orange, yellow. They don't have any special names. They're just orange lightsaber, yellow lightsaber, whatnot. And then this one is, I forgot. Where is it? A galaxy far, far away. Yeah, a galaxy far, far away. So I bought 2 large skeins of that one. And let me take them out of the package for you and delete the note. A galaxy far, far away. Sock natal base, 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, fingering weight. A galaxy far, far away. So I think that's appropriate. So that together with these will become some kind of striped pullover. T-shirt or 3/4 length sleeve, something I can wear with a dress. Haven't picked the pattern out yet. I don't think I'll design it. I think I'll actually pick a pattern to follow. And then, with every online order from Ancient Arts Yarns, you get a postcard. Thank you card. Signed by one of their studio cats. Okay. While we were in San Francisco, I scoped out a yarn store with my map app called Firebird Yarns. And the day we did the hop on, hop off bus, when my husband left to go to a meeting, I got back on the bus, took it around again, worked out where to get off so that I have the shortest distance to walk. I only had to walk 700 meters from a stop to the store, make my purchases, and got back to the bus to catch the next round. And come here. They had many different brands of yarn, some commercial, I think, some hand dyed. They have their own store brand, Firebird Yarns, dyed in San Francisco. And this is 75% superwash merino, 20% nylon, and 5% iridescent stellina. You can see those sparkles in there from the stellina. And their colorway is a fan fiction trope swordplay. Now, I don't know what fan fiction that's from. I wasn't actually paying attention when I was browsing the store. I wasn't paying attention to the color names, so I don't know what the fan fiction trope, what it's all from. I'm curious now what the other colors names were. So that will go on my sock yarn shelf. And I also bought there a little mini pair of scissors, itty bitty scissors, because the little tiny snips that I had with me, I think, were more intended for thread than yarn. They weren't really working for me in my little to-go pouch for travel. So, and I had a pair like this in the past, a green pair. I think they wound up in my daughter's collection. So I bought that. I bought a quick gauge, branded from Twice Sheared Sheep. I've seen this on their Twice Your Cheap's newsletters. So I was glad to buy one. And you place it over your knitting and line it up to which set of squares your stitches fit into to double check your gauge. And I don't know which way is the right way to show you. Apparently there's a film on there I have to get picked off. A tiny bit started. It's really on there. And I bought books. I have been looking at these books, considering buying them, but our Canadian price and our shipping cost, when I saw them in the store, I impulsively picked them up. So the first one is The Sock Project by Summer Lee. I'm not sure how many years ago it came out, but it's a bunch of basic sock patterns and a bunch of tips on how to modify them. So here, I'll show you the back. Those are some of the samples of the patterns that are in the book. And by the same author, The Sock Obsession just came out this year. And it's got some even more exciting socks in there. Mostly color work. And the one that I particularly wanted this book for was sheep. Not on the cover, but somewhere there's bees and there's mushrooms. My youngest daughter loves the mushrooms. And my theme is the bees. Oh, there's the bees. And there's the mushrooms. Yeah. So color work, I'm going to have to remember to double check my needle size, my gauge size. Make sure I'm not knitting them up too tight. Because as you can see on the wall behind me up there, the Herding Cat socks I did a couple years ago by Charlotte Stone were too tight for anybody. So, yeah, I need to start taking better notes of what sock needles I need for what kind of yarn, what kind of projects. And at the Sue gift shop, because my daughter walks into all the gift shops, I bought a little bag. We saw the polar bears at the zoo. They were play fighting. I mean, I hope they were play fighting and not real fighting. They were wrestling. And we got to see them up close. Got some pictures of them, some video bits. I think I'll put a little clip in here. And so I bought this pouch. And currently it has my Multiplicity Socks in it. It's a very heavy canvas material. So they'll be well protected. I believe I have covered everything. So if you stuck around, thank you for watching. Give me the like button so that more people can see my videos so that I can get some encouragement. And if you want to contact me, you can make a comment below or find me on all my socials as Be Making Joy. And until next time, happy knitting, happy crocheting, happy beading, happy diamond dotting, happy painting, baking. I could go on and on and on. Whatever it is that you like to do, go make some joy.